All right, good evening. I'm going to call to order the April 15th meeting of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee to order. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we're going to just have a moment of silence. Elaine Newcomb, who was a paraprofessional at Duval, passed away recently. So we take a moment of silence to think of her and her family. Okay. I want to announce that we're being recorded and broadcast by WHCA, and we are going to go into public.
Just for moments of silence, I don't know if anybody is aware of this, but John Noon passed away. John Noon was a school committee member years ago and was on our finance committee in the town of Whitman. So he had his funeral today.
Okay. So I'm sorry about that. So if we include John Noon in your thoughts as well. So we are being recorded by WHCA, as I said, and now we will go into public comment, and we have one. Is it Mr. Kane? It is Mr. Kane. Thank you very much, Jason.
Hi guys, Sean Kane, 31 Forest Street, also a select board member in Whitman. I'd just like to speak briefly about the budget. I think two big questions were on our mind as we presented this last budget scenario. One was, how can we potentially provide or present a budget that would avoid an override? The feedback from the community about an override is not very positive right now, and we're thinking it's in all of our best interest if we can come up with a scenario that would avoid an override. So that was one of the concepts. The other concept that really drove how we organized the scenario was we wanted to share the burden. So we had about $500,000 that we had to cut out of the budget. And what Mary Beth Carter did was she took about half, a little bit more than half, and she took it from the departments in Whitman, mostly public safety, but also library, and almost very deliberately every department with that shared burden kind of concept in mind. She also moved the school assessment from, we had a lower assessment, which was our projected based on our revenue proportion kind of formula, and she bumped that up, your school assessment, up to 4.85. It was a little bit lower, about $120,000 roughly lower. So she bumped that up to the full amount, but then we had targeted non-mandated busing as a potential area to save to cut some money. What became pretty clear is that it's not that simple. I mean, fairly obviously, but even in the couple weeks that this has kind of been going on, even my level of understanding of the scenario has significantly grown. With the research and the feedback has been really helpful. So it's obvious that simply eliminating non-mandated busing, you can't just do that because there are additional costs that would have to be incurred because of it. But are there ways that we can save with transportation? You know, I'd like to kind of just pause at that for a second. Are there ways that we could potentially save with transportation as a means to save some money? To do that, I think, does get fairly complex, and I'd ask that maybe somebody looks into it. Sounds like people are looking into it, but simply in Whitman, from our perspective, or simply from my perspective, I should say, we're paying for non-mandated busing, so we're paying for, I want to be careful with my statements because I don't want to be inaccurate, but any student who's eligible, who is outside the range, who is inside the range of 1.5 miles, would be eligible for a seat on a bus. The exception of within a half a mile?
Yeah, within the walking zone or, yeah.
So roughly a half mile, but there are some exceptions about it. So from a half mile to 1.5 miles, literally any eligible student has a seat on a bus if they chose to sit on the bus. So just thinking out loud, like, are there ways, instead of being all or nothing, are there ways that could be a little bit of a compromise so that if kids opted out and didn't actually want to take the bus, that we could pull back on some bus? You know, things like that. Are there cost savings that we can make with transportation? So that's one kind of concept that we've been thinking of.
Sean, I just want to point out, so it's been 3 minutes, so I don't know if you could, how long your statement was, but we just want to kind of wrap it up if you could.
Sure, just one
Thank
more
you.
point.
Yep.
Thank you. This last part is kind of the difficult part, and it deals with the regional agreement. Right now, from our perspective, my perspective, but working with some of the leadership team, crunching some of the numbers, from our perspective, if you look at transportation costs, Whitman, non-mandated and mandated, and Hanson, non-mandated and mandated, you simply tallied up the total cost, it's about $2 million. You subtract the reimbursement, which is about $1.3 million, you have what's left over. If you look at what the costs are, not what we're reimbursed, but what the costs are, it's about 50-50. The cost for Whitman and the cost for Hanson are about equal. So when we're doing the math that way, it seems like and I do want you to be skeptical, and I'm throwing this out there not because I'm trying to like rub this in your face or something. This is honestly how I'm viewing the numbers. So I want you to gain a perspective of my angle, I guess. So I'd ask you to kind of do some independent, or ask the administration to kind of present some research that shows like a transportation analysis, so you can maybe just appreciate where we're coming from. From our perspective, it looks like the costs are about equal, 50-50. So then when you separate out non-mandated busing, it puts us at a distinct disadvantage. Even the 60-40 split wouldn't be in our favor, but now to go beyond 60 means it's really much not in our favor. So that's kind of why this has been a hot button issue for us financially. I know I'm running along, so I'll wrap up. Every dollar in Whitman right now, like in Hanson, really matters. So for us, if this is an area that we can really focus on together and find some compromise in a way to, one, maybe come up with a scenario that avoids an override, and two, find some cost savings that is not going to put kids at risk. I want to make that clear. My intention is not to like throw kids under the bus or put this in the back of kids. Are there intelligent ways that we can save on transportation without putting kids at risk safety-wise, and get through the budget kind of together?
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so the first item on the agenda is the superintendent update.
Thank you very much. As promised, some photographs of what we've experienced in the district over the last week or so. Let me just pull it up on my side too, so you can see where we are. Okay, we're on the same place. So around the horn, around the district, this is preschool, one of the classrooms, and they're playing an awesome game where everybody's holding on to that flexible rubber bandy thing. Next, this is getting outside. Obviously last week, not today, because they got coats on. And this is another room that we swung into where they were having a really fun chat about all kinds of things, actually. So that was great. Next is that is at Indian Head, and those are the kindergarten kids in a glow pumpkin or glow fish activity, which is really cool, using a black light. These are students that are learning cursive. So I was sort of fascinated by that because I didn't think we were doing that anymore. But according to Mr. Tranter, that's what's happening. Next is at Duval. This is something that Ms. Craig brought to the school last year when she was assistant principal. It's an organization that comes and does a whole drumming experience for students both in a sub-separate program and then peers, so partners who join them. So a bunch of staff come and support kids both in gen ed classrooms as well as in the ASD and TLC room. So it's a really cool experience. Next is yours truly putting up a sign, and if you go to the next one, Jason, you'll see that that's Gia, and we're putting up the Vlachos Way sign because they won it at the basket raffle. It was awesome. Next is at Conley. Those are second graders, and those are projects about measuring. So it's about sort of measuring around the school and around town. Next are some scientists, also second grade, looking at eggs and other items that are found around the school. We move over to Whitman Middle. There's a hardy group getting ready to take a tour. And next, and I'm sorry that I keep showing up in these pictures, but people send them to me because they know that I want to be seen. But that's me killing some kids in pickleball.
2-on-1.
So
You're taking them down.
right?
Taking them down.
Yeah, taking them down. So they couldn't believe how good I was. This is the Excel program, EXSEL program that Dr. C. Mishnewis helps to manage, and we provided coffee and other treats at all of the schools the day after conferences. So it was kind of a nice treat for the staff to get, and a nice way to sort of say, we know that last night was long and we're glad that you're back. This is over at the high school. It was a cleanup day, and thank you to Mr. Farrow for snapping these shots. Next is the team that was actually out and doing the cleaning. This is over at Hanson Middle, and this is a cool competition that they ran, and there's 3 of the winners. And then this is also at Hanson Middle, and those are students who are working on a literacy project. And next, last night was the Family Food Festival, International Food Festival. It was a wonderful experience. There were foods from a whole bunch of different countries. Students signed up and brought in treats either from their own sort of background or from anywhere. So we had dozens of countries represented. We had singers, the band, and I think this is Mackenzie, is that right? Who sang for over an hour, God bless her. And these are a couple of kids representing Denmark. So it was a really wonderful experience that, again, Dr. C. Mishnewis brought to the district last year and has managed to keep it going, and hopefully it continues on next year. The next 2, just because I had to, there's a question about how many people fit on the seat of a bus. So I asked the Duval folks to take a picture. These are 3 adults sitting on a seat, so you can see that Mrs. Curley is really not in a safe place right now, so not a good idea. And the next is, those are 3 fifth graders, and Sophia, you can see, is kind of in the same position as Mrs. Curley, kind of hanging out into the middle. So when folks talk about how many people ride a bus and what is that number supposed to be, this is some nice visual evidence of what that might actually look like. So those are some things happening around. Some quick other updates. We had some concerns about this building, the gym, and there was a tarp that was laid out that some folks felt looked kind of icky. There was also some concern about the seats in the cafeteria, and a lot of them were missing. I went down with Mr. Farrow and Mr. Driscoll to look at both of those and understand what was going on. Both situation, the gym situation is a leak in the roof, 20-year-old building, and it's been repaired, so hopefully that is taken care of. And the cafeteria seats, I learned that they twist, and as they twist, they snap. The plastic snaps, and then they go away. And so I learned that we spent $7,000 last year on replacement seats that don't twist as much. So we'll probably be continuing that project moving forward so people aren't sitting on a pole. We had nice news from Hanson Middle, we have an Eagle Scout, and I'm not sure if this comes to you all as a vote or whatever, but there's an existing structure over there that is the cabin that Thoreau used in Walden, at Walden Pond, and Eagle Scout is going to come and fix it up. So I don't think that's a vote thing, but it's nice to know. Our Active Mind students here at the high school won a video competition last week, so good for them at the gathering. And then it's just some quick thoughts in terms of the budget. We got some good news in terms of FY27 that I had mentioned once or twice that there were some considerations of cutting Title I. There were some cuts across the state. Some folks lost as much as 50% of their Title I funding. We were sort of threatened or warned about that potentiality. Luckily, the numbers came in and we're almost even. It's about $6,000 difference. So that's actually really helpful. And we were counting on that in the upcoming budget, so that's helpful. The House 2 numbers just came out. That's the second version of the budget after the governor's budget. Mr. Wells and I just started looking at those today, so we'll continue to look at that and we'll give you updates on that. And looking toward FY27, I put out to the staff earlier this week a request for feedback on professional development and how we can reflect on our practices and rather than sort of aim toward a shiny new thing, what do we know about what's great work as a classroom teacher or as a counselor or as a nurse, and how can we make that the foundation of our professional development next year. So we're forming a committee. We'll have people working together so that before the year even starts, there'll be an entire layout of what PD offerings will be available to folks next year. So I'm excited about that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Marcus. Any questions for Dr. Marcus? Mr. Marks?
You mentioned the Eagle project. As a Eagle Scout myself and former Scout leader here in Whitman, I love hearing about these Eagle projects, no matter where they're at, but seeing kids, and I know we had one last year where somebody did built a platform for the music department. I love seeing that stuff come back into the town. One of the requirements of that Eagle project is it has to benefit one specific beneficiary. I don't think it ends up coming to this committee, but usually they do have to speak to somebody within the school department to make sure that it's okay. But I love to see that stuff.
Awesome.
Great to see that continuing here at Whitman-Hanson. Good stuff.
All right. All right, well, before we get to the action items, I feel like it's been a little while since, as the chair, I've apologized for something, so I felt like we're due. My mother doesn't live here in town, so she always asks me to send her, like, the meetings that I'm in, so she can watch them, because she's a proud mom, for reasons I don't know. And last week, Dr. Marcus and I went to the joint select board meeting and the FinCom meeting, and when my mother came by to visit this weekend, I did not mention it, and I was wondering why I didn't mention it, and when I thought about it, it was because at one point during that meeting, I got a little frosty with one of the people on the select board, but I don't think that that's, I wasn't, but the point of the realize is I was embarrassed by that, and I don't, and this is my first budget season, and obviously it's very tense and things like that. But I just thought I would bring that up to first say that I want to make sure that I represent you guys well when I go to these things. But also I just hope that as we all kind of traverse through this process that we are being civil and being, representing the board well when we deal with other board other boards and other committees, and also when we deal with each other, because obviously there's going to be some difficult discussions that we're going to have over the next few weeks about things. And I just hope that we can, I think I really enjoyed, I feel like how kind of cordial and civil we've all been the last couple months as a committee, and I would hope that we don't kind of fall back into some of the, as things get tense, people get tense, and we, do those things. And I hope that we can all kind of work together because we're all in this together. So, but I wanted to say that because when I realized I didn't want my mom to see it, I realized I didn't want you guys to see it either. So,
Chair?
I want to thank you. Yes, Ms. Hill.
Does this apply to us? Can we get frosty, or is it only the chair? And the reason I ask that is that I did see your meeting, and I did, when we're fighting for children's, these towns have put our budgets in the lower 1 percentile and called that normal. It's normalized underfunding to a point that somebody's got to say no at points. And as far as representing me, or what I would think was right, you've never been out of line. And maybe for yourself, you feel as you always want to be cordial and come, but sometimes saying no strongly is the most appropriate thing to do.
Wow. Like I said, I'm trying to keep up my Richie Cunningham-esque persona.
You did move from
I know. When I was a teacher, I practiced being like the very calm person. So then when I did bust out my teacher voice, everyone paid attention. So I guess maybe that's what I was doing. But I was icky about it, and I just wanted to apologize for that.
Sure.
Well, thank you.
So, Mr. Boyce.
Can TJ play the Fonz? or Glenn?
I think he's more of a Chachi, actually.
Okay.
Ow.
Sorry.
I thought you were going to be nice.
Joni loves Chachi, what can I say? All right. For the first action item, we have a vote on an amendment for the project funding agreement. This was in our packet and was taken out because it did have some sensitive information in it, that, like banking information numbers and stuff on it, because I'll let Ms. Stafford explain what because she understands it better as the chair of the building committee. But we just need to vote on that today so we can authorize some stuff for the middle school building project. So Ms. Stafford?
So we get a lot of things, it seems every other week, that we have to fill out, we have to sign. This one paper, we already did the IMA and we all voted on that. This paper concerns that the funding from, I shouldn't say that, the pro-pay, the reimbursement from MSBA will go directly to the town of Whitman now, since they are the ones who are going to give us the money. So we had to just sign it. Dr. Marcus is he's the only one that needs to really authorize to be signing it, so that the pro-pay from MSBA will now go directly to the town of Whitman. And they'll send us the money that, it's kind of back and forth thing, and then we can pay, and then we pay the bills. That's all that we just need to vote that we're okay with that. We've done the IMA, so this is just another extension that MSBA wants us to do.
Any questions? Ms. Blackman?
So does this mean that the town of Whitman will be receiving the interest on the project rather than the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District?
Yes, well,
Which might, I don't know if the towns did consider that when they were planning their budget, but I just thought I would mention the fact that Whitman is going to actually benefit as a town from it rather than the school district.
they would have anyway, because that's a separate account of the middle school. So even if the interest came onto the middle school, it would be going back to the towns anyway. It would reduce their owing, what they would owe on their budget. So it kind of works out the same way.
Okay.
It's just, to me, it's a little convoluted because we have to go back and forth and back and forth. But, that's what MSBA agreed, and Whitman agreed to help us out to get this done, the project done.
Ms. Hill?
Yeah, and just to build on Stephanie's, I was just about to talk about the debt too, thank you. You did it. In a little different way, when we originally presented our budget, did we have to pull back, and even if it was going to be given back and forth or whatever, we had to shift our budget over from that debt over? Do we have a rough amount, how much we shifted? So we just have a sense of how much they're getting back in interest to pay back. I mean, it's not a small amount, so.
All I know is, and Matt can probably help out too, is we have paid all the bills that we have agreed on so far, and we have a balance of $75,000. I don't know if Matt can answer any more with that as
So-
far as interest-wise or
So
whatever?
the interest that goes with the borrowing, so they use that interest and it reduces the amount of money that you end up borrowing in the end. So you only borrow the total amount of money that you need for the project, and the interest can offset that a little bit. Plus, MSBA fund comes in and offsets with the total borrowing as well. So it all is kind of a total package directed at the school, and all that money stays with the school.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Stafford or Mr. Wells or Dr. Marcus? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the amendment for the PFA?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the acceptance of a donation from the Kiwanis Club of Hanson Foundation. Dr. Marcus, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, and Mr. Tranter was here, but I'm not sure, they ran away. This is an annual donation that the Kiwanis Club of Hanson has been giving to the Indian Head School. The request is to be able to, over the next 5 years, provide about 120 dictionaries per year, so 600 altogether, to the Indian Head School 4th grade students.
Okay. Any questions? Oh, sorry.
I move we approve the donation.
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right.
Oh, I just have to abstain.
Oh.
Because I have a 4th grader.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm
This-
not
this
saying
was all
no,
scary.
I'm
All
just
scary.
Nice
abstaining.
dictionaries.
Okay. All right. Whitman-Hanson Regional High School Student Council Field Trip. We have some, Dr. Marcus, do you have information on that, or is that?
Yep, this is
okay.
a request for the high school student council to go to the Vision Conference, which is the national conference of school councils. This is the funny one in when Mr. Wells and I were looking through the budget, and we found that there was money from something, from a revolving account going to MASC, and we freaked out because we thought that there high school revolving account was paying for MASC. Well, it is. It's the Massachusetts Association of Student Councils, not school councils. So, but this is, so that's what this is that we found that we thought was a scary thing, but it's actually a really wonderful thing. Student council going to the program up in New Hampshire. It will sponsored by Mr. Moriarty. There are 2 adults going, Mr. Moriarty and Ms. Scott, and the members of the student council. You can see the times that they're going, and I recommend approval of this.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. All in favor? All right. Okay. I don't think we have anything in paper on this, but we have, next item is review capital request item. So, Dr. Marcus, you want to take this one? I feel like I'm fobbing everything off on you.
Sure, well, that's okay. So we had put in a request to the 2 town managers to have them put on the warrant the paving of, to start with, the paving of the lower lot over here at the high school. We got a quote, so the initial request for the article was $191,000, I think, and the split on that was to each town, 114, and whatever the other piece is, 70-something.
76.
Thank you. Along the way, we've had this conversation that I talked about with a company that's going to be putting together a solar farm right next to us, right on the other side of the power lines. And there have been initial conversations with the company about them using our road and how we would arrange sort of them working with the road and their willingness to provide some service or some financial arrangement with the district in terms of using the road. We mentioned the notion of paving. We gave the quote. The solar company actually looked at some other quotes, and they felt comfortable being able to provide us with that amount of money. Now, there's more to it, because it's not, one of the things that in our conversation with DESE today, we learned that, there are systems in place and ways that the money has to come to us. It has to be done appropriately. However, given that, we're working on those conversations. In the midst of this, just as we were getting close, the company has run into a little bit of a delay in terms of making the cut through from our road over to where the power lines are. It's a short distance. And so they're trying to work that out. So there's been a little bit of a delay, but they are very positive. They think that the delay is only about 6 months. And it makes me think that if we can have the project of paving funded in a different way, then it's a way for us to be able to reduce that capital request and move it, either hold off and wait, because we also discovered that the town of Hanson wants to wait until the fall, and I know Ms. Green is here, and so we would have to wait for that anyway, and that would then lead, if the town of Whitman didn't have a fall town meeting, it would end up back at the spring anyway, no matter what. And so that concept of this is going to get delayed until the spring anyway works in the favor of accepting this donation, or however this works, from the solar company, and gives us the ability to take it off of capital at this point. More to it? Shall I keep going?
No.
So that would be my recommendation. It's where the articles went to the two towns through the business office, through superintendent's office. So the reason it's an action item is really to allow me the permission, or give me the permission to rescind those requests to the two town administrators.
Ms. Blackman?
So, first of all, as somebody who sits on our capital and operations subcommittee, there were a lot of other projects that we also had that we would have liked to have done. The longer we wait, the more those areas deteriorate. So I feel like I understand that we're doing what we can to ease the burden on the towns, but at the same time, it might come back later as a more expensive cost. And then, throwing my realtor hat on, are we giving them a right of way? Is that like an easement? What is it that legally we're giving them? Can we legally, because we lease we don't own the property, right? So, like, has this been run through the lawyers? Like, all of that fun type of legal questions, I guess?
Yeah, we've run some of the initial thoughts through council, but this is going to need to be firmed up, and we have to get clarity on what that is. The request from the company is simply the use of the road to be able to cut across over to that property. We don't own anything beyond the road,
Right.
so they're just using our road to go into the
right of way.
Of the road. I know what you're asking about is what off of the road are we giving them permission for? And
Yeah.
is that a right of way? So,
No, if we allow them to use our road, then that's establishing a legal precedent for the company to continue, and I don't know what the parameters of it are as far as that goes, but I think that it's wonderful that the company is willing to help us out. I am very concerned, however, about postponing projects, and if they're willing to help us out with this, but we could maybe get this taken care of sooner, because that lot is very dangerous, then they could help us out with some of the other paving projects. For instance, the student lot here at the high school needs to be redone. The fire road here at the high school needs to be redone. So it's not like there's a shortage of places where that money could benefit us down the road. And I'm just very concerned about us, delaying things, especially now that there's some bumps that we might be hitting, so.
Ms. Hill?
I'm going to do two things. One is going to be a question. It is my understanding that the regional school owns this building, but leases the other buildings, correct? So this building is
Correct.
ours and the others are leased, okay. And then within the same context of that, and Stephanie mentioned precedents. Is it on the table that we will be doing a lease for a period of time, access of, say, 30 years or something, or is it just
No, we
full-on
won't.
access? Because that can end up being an easement.
yeah, no, I hear you. So
And then,
we won't have anything to do with the solar project or whatever, different property. So the agreement would be that we're allowing them to use a road that they're going to create on their own property, and use our road. Yeah, the question is that small amount that might be considered an easement or a,
okay.
yeah, but
And then-
I have to figure that out.
And then to continue on, just back to what Stephanie said. When you're considering your costs, you're considering a long-term view when you're doing a municipal thing. You're not considering we get a deal today and we're not going to see it again, because those things are rotating every single year. And the sooner you can get to them, the reduced costs of the overall. And we've seen this. And she brings up a great point, because we saw that. We had to build a whole new middle school because we didn't address leaks in a roof in a proper and timely, full-on manner. We have other leaks in other roofs and other issues. So a real thought on, and I also understand, I was at the meeting last night, that where you're at. So just I think she brings up a valid point, and I well understanding the situation you're in. At the same time, if it's possible to think long-term as well.
Mr. Rafi?
This is more of a procedural question, but it's probably too late to change the town meeting warrant at this point anyway, is it not?
No?
You can just pass over it.
We
Yeah,
can't.
you just pass over it.
Right, but so we could perhaps give Dr. Marcus 2 weeks to firm up some of these details before we make any decisions, if there's no actual change to the warrant.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Can I ask just quickly that, because I think you mentioned earlier, in the past, I think it was mentioned, that the capital is actually outside the warrant. It wasn't sent over as,
It's outside
The
the
assessment.
assessment, right, so it's
it
its own
wasn't set
thing.
out.
Right.
In ours, we didn't have it in the assessment, so we could vote to do that at any time, couldn't we? What is it?
It
Not
would
that I
be-
want to, I'm just saying, just for procedural reasons,
So at this point, I know for sure Hanson's warrant is closed, I believe.
Oh, the
Whitman's
warrant
is.
being closed, okay, thank you.
Like, we would be talking about someone getting up at town meeting and tabling the article or passing it over because we don't need the money.
Right.
So we don't need to, if we have things that we would like to see further clarified, we don't need to vote tonight. We could vote the 29th,
Okay,
which would still be the week before both town meetings.
perfect, thank you.
Okay, so,
You just leave it.
So hold. So table it till
Motion to
the
table?
2nd.
Motion.
okay, so we have a motion and a second the table to the 29th? Okay, all in favor?
All right, thank you.
All right. We're zipping right along. Next up, we have approval of meeting minutes for March 11th and March 25th.
Motion to approve.
The minutes for the 25th, right? Am I in the 25th?
Yep.
The executive session portion has one person vote listed as abstained and then says the motion passed unanimously. Is that, I don't think it's technically true, right? Okay.
Ms. Blackman?
Also on the minutes for the 25th, the numbers, the figures for the warrant subcommittee were not listed in there. They were listed on the other one. I think for continuity, it would make sense. I did already send them to Jen, but if we can just update the minutes to reflect the amounts that were approved.
Yep. Any other comments? All right, so can I have a motion to approve these?
You have a motion.
But I guess
Motion.
with the amendment, with
Yeah.
those changes?
With those changes.
Yeah, so do we get a second on the motion that you?
No.
I don't know, I wasn't watching.
Okay,
Second.
so, well, no, I think we want to make a motion to do with the changes.
I believe Mr. Boyce made a motion with the amendments.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second?
Chris, second.
Okay, all right. All in favor? All right. Okay, so next up, we have subcommittee reports, starting with Ms. Blackman.
All right, so
Thank you, Beth.
we did,
Good luck.
I do have a report here in the, in your packets for you. So we've met, the policy subcommittee met on April 1st and again on April 8th. We reviewed a number of policies which are listed on both the front and the back of your, the paper, and most we decided to move forward to the full committee, and you have those in your March and April folders. There was one that Mr. Trestle got a little twitchy about, which dealt with busing. So we skipped over that because we want to wait until we have an updated regional agreement to make sure that we're in line with the regional agreement. And then there were several that we tabled from this last meeting because we wanted feedback from food services because they were related to food services. And Mr. Farrow got us answers the next day, which was amazing, but we can't approve those until our next meeting, which is not until May 13th. So I guess my only question is, does anybody have any questions about any of the troublemakers? All right, Mr. Ruffey.
It's not really troublemaking, I don't think.
No, that's fine.
The DB policy for Regional School District Annual Budget refers to a finance subcommittee, which I don't think we actually hold, so I don't know if that needs to be adjusted to budget subcommittee.
Which one is this, sorry?
This is a DB, and this is the fourth paragraph. It says at the discretion of the finance subcommittee, an informal public information meeting may be held to solicit input from the general public.
And then it refers to the finance subcommittee again, like 2 sentences later.
So, I think we did talk about that, so that might just be a thing we missed. So,
Well,
I can
think we
appreciate the
also-
vast amount of policy you've been looking at.
Yes, you can see by the thickness of the packets how much we've been going through. But one of the things that I guess I will put before this committee to consider is the naming of the committees and what the different committees all stand for. Right now, we seem to have a lot of committees. A finance committee in other districts anyway that I've looked at incorporates the budget, the warrant, and maybe like capital or something along those lines. So they're looking at a broader picture of. I don't know if that's something that we want to consider at some point when we reorganize, but I guess my only concern is making sure that we're with policy, broad enough that we're not pigeonholing ourselves, but at the same time not doing anything too minute. But I am open to the will of the committee, so.
Any other comments or questions for Ms. Blackman?
Do we want to make a decision about finance committee versus budget
Well, is this,
finance
are
subcommittee?
we,
We're discussing so that
is
we
this the
can
first reading?
present
Second read.
No,
Second read.
second read on this. So we can certainly make that adjustment and then,
Ms. Niven?
Just reading it in the paragraph, I don't even, I mean, I suppose budget subcommittee would make a little more sense, but it says the superintendent and members of the finance subcommittee will make every effort to fully inform all member communities and their officials of the budget plans of the district. Then, at the discretion of the finance subcommittee, or I guess prior, an informal public information meeting may be held to solicit input from the general public. Like, what is that? An informal public information meeting seems oxymoronic to me. And isn't that like is this not our public budget hearing, or is that totally different? Because to me, that's what it sounds like, in which case I would recommend not specifying a subcommittee, because we just do that as a committee.
I mean, the next sentence is in accordance with the district agreement, a public hearing shall be held. So it sounds like it's two separate things.
Which is weird.
So if it's two separate things,
I
that's the other
think the
one.
spirit of this, and when we talked about it, was that the budget subcommittee, as it currently exists, does have the ability for the public to go there.
Okay.
So I think these words would be.
So that's the informal
Yeah, 'cause
public,
we
okay.
talk about things in the
Yep.
budget subcommittee that then obviously have to get brought to the full committee, but it wouldn't be the public hearing or anything like that. It would be when you have the budget subcommittee, whoever wanted to go could hear the
Okay.
context of what's taking place with the finances.
Okay, that makes sense.
The existing policy also says that you can hold an informal public information meeting. It just leaves the subcommittee part out.
Right, and so in that case, that would be just our open, like our meetings.
that's probably because we haven't had a budget subcommittee, standing budget subcommittee.
Right. Right, yep.
So is there any,
Mr. Marks?
And if I'm reading the table of contents on the front here, DB is mass recommendation, so this policy here is basically just, is it adding language from the mass policy, or is this exactly what the mass policy says?
this is the mass policy
This,
version.
okay. I mean, I understand TJ's point about, we don't have a finance subcommittee, so this doesn't give discretion to the budget subcommittee. This gives discretion to a subcommittee that doesn't exist.
Right.
So I think, and I understand what you're saying about, well, maybe when we reorganize, we have the ability to change wording or change the name of some of these committees and whatnot. I do think there's value in having it match what we actually do have. And then if it's something that through reorganization or through creation of new subcommittees or merging of subcommittees, we change that could always go back to the policy committee to modify that title, correct?
Would the full committee be open to budget/finance subcommittee?
just gonna say that.
Therefore, we can cover both bases?
I am.
Budget and Finance Subcommittee.
Budget/finance,
Sure.
so that it's either or type of a thing?
But are we gonna have a finance subcommittee?
It would be the same committee doing the same things with a new name.
Do you have to have the committees that are listed, or these are just rules if you have the committee? Say, the budget every year, usually you make a 5-year plan, you wouldn't have the budget every year, hopefully.
We have an operating budget.
I think
yeah.
the point I made before you came back in was like, right now, we're giving discretion to an entity that doesn't currently exist. So you're right. I mean, you call it whatever you call it, it is what it is. But I think your compromise is fine, because it is at least giving discretion and giving some level of authority to a subcommittee that actually exists. as opposed to one that could theoretically exist at some date in the future. So if we want to do it budget/finance subcommittee, I'm fine with that, but I think including the budget subcommittee that does exist in that wording is important.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. Any other questions about any of the policies before you?
Thank you. You did a wonderful job. You all did.
It's really Ms. Blackman, I just sit there.
You just look pretty, right?
Does his
Not
Richie
the
Cunningham
case.
thing?
Does the Richie Cunningham?
Not the case.
I think you
So
played.
these are all
a big
second
part.
reads?
So the first packet is second reads, and then the second packet is first reads.
Okay.
That's confusing.
They're in two separate folders in your
I'm
drive.
I'm just being
Now, which one is which?
Very funny. I specifically put current and masked version recommended, and I tried to be clear about what it was that we were doing for adjustments.
Right.
But again, we're covering a multiple year project in very few months, so.
So for this second read, it's just a second read, there's no vote or anything required for tonight?
There's,
George's,
You could, if you already discussed it at the second read, you could make the motion to waive the third read and accept, then make the motion to accept as the second read that first packet. Then that would be clear the decks.
I didn't know how to do that. She's done a lot of work.
And then the next time, you just go into the regular second read of tonight's first read. Do that.
Let's do that.
Just require that after the motion to waive third and then move forward.
I'm sorry.
oh, no, it's okay.
I move to waive
Oh, no,
third
you-
reading and accept.
Okay, it's not okay now, because I was going to say something. It was okay if you were going to
still
say
have
something, not
discussion.
skip over me.
Okay, so we have a first, can I have a second, then we'll have
Second.
discussion. Okay.
Oh,
Nope, then we have,
Now
it's
discussion.
now it's discussion.
Now you get to
Okay, maybe it was
discuss.
okay. Oh, wow. Now I got to apologize for Chris.
Cry over here.
First of all, this is really good work. If it is you, as we've been told, and your attention to the public, I've gotten a couple of phone calls saying that this committee really listened and allowed for a lot of dialogue with the public. This is amazing, and I want to thank everybody who worked on this, from those on our committee to those out in the public who contributed. Thank you so much. Great work.
thank you. And I definitely do not do it alone.
Mr. Farrow and Dr. Seamus Schneeweiss also.
And staff,
Absolutely.
I'm including you as the public.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a first and second to waive the second reading and move to a vote. So it will be two votes, right? It will be a vote to move it to the second reading, and then we'll have a move, to waive the second reading and then a vote.
Third reading.
Made the third reading.
Yeah.
Waive the third
I didn't read the second time anyway, so I'm waiving both of them.
and accept with the change.
I only read it once.
That's for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a motion to waive the third reading.
It was all Stephanie.
All in favor? Okay. And then can I have a motion to accept these policies with the added change of budget/finance committee?
Oh, you do it.
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
Second? Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? All right. Very good. Thank you.
Just great job.
Is that all for policy, Ms. Blackman?
I believe so. Yes.
Because this other one's first reading, right?
Yes,
this is the
the other
first reading.
packet is
Yep.
first reading.
Yep.
So,
All right. So
All right.
now turning things over to Ms. Blackman for the warrant subcommittee.
So the warrant subcommittee met on April 3rd. At that time, we reviewed and signed the accounts payable warrant in the amount of $682,757.41. The food services warrant for $55,561.01, and the payroll warrant for $1,647,294.09. There were no warrants for the Whitman Middle School building project at that time, and I need a motion to approve the payment of said warrants.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor? All right. All right. And now Turning to Ms. Blackman. No, actually, Mr. Boyce. Mr. Boyce with the Pilgrim Area Collaborative.
So we did meet, our April meeting was last Thursday. There were two of us, Kendra Stetson from Marshfield and myself, who serve on the Budget Subcommittee. And we started an hour earlier so that we could get in our time with our business manager and obviously our executive director. So we had covered quite a bit. And it was the biggest thing on our agenda for our regular meeting. You can see we're just over $11 million for our presentation of the FY27 budget. There's a few key highlights below, but basically, it's not just no significant additions or no new positions were added, but really it was the across-the-board 3% increase. And you can see that can vary with collaboratives between 3 and 5%. This actually, though, and I think when I started 10 years ago, representing us at the collaborative, it was way down in the 50s or 60s. So now we're at 74,000. And I'm not selling that as that's a terrible thing. We're keeping pace with the others and we're being mindful. The 3% does also go across the board for a lot of services. I didn't bring the whole services list, and I thought maybe there would have been a little bit of detail, but that was left off. But we do have our second read for the budget next month, or a second go-through. We'll have the budget subcommittee May 7th before the regular May 7th meeting. So there'll still be more to come from that, and I know we'll probably get a lot more completed documentation. We also had policy updates, 4,000 and 6,000 series that were introduced as a first read. And as you can see from here, it's an ongoing effort to review and revise PAC policies. Ms. Blackman, you probably would have enjoyed this, but maybe you would have found this is enough. I don't need to see any more policies. But anyways, obviously with compliance, law compliance and DESI regulations. And I know we have it on the PAC website, but don't think that these are right up because it's the first read, right up there in black and white. We are still going through. Becky does a great job for us putting together the documentation and so forth. So we're still with that. And then PAC has turned 50 years old this year. And they had, during that day, I wasn't a part of it, or I know a few people were, a celebration at the Pilgrim area, the Pilgrim Academy in Plymouth. Representative Michelle Badger was a former PAC representative from Plymouth. She left a couple years ago and she ran for office, and congratulations to her. I think she took office maybe last year. But she and Kendra and myself and Sheila have been the long-standing members. And I'd just like to mention that because I often hear from Kendra or Michelle in the past, well, who's going to be chair? Who's going to be chair? And you guys can do it. You're doing great with it. So this year it's actually Sheila Vaughn from Kingston who is our chair. So just adding a few pieces there. If you have any questions, let me know. I always like to read piece like the SSEC and the other collaboratives that we belong to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Any questions for Mr. Boyce? Okay. Mr. Walfrey, do we have anyone on the?
No, there's no one in the.
Okay, and there's no one that signed up in person for public comments, so we're going to vote to go into executive session. Before we do that, I do want to thank Jason Cook for all the work that he did. We are experimenting with ways to allow people who cannot physically be here at the in our space to be able to contribute to public comment. He has acquired for us from WHCA a device called the OWL, which is this thing that's like looking at me the whole meeting. 'Cause it
Which
looks like
literally says owl.
it says owl on it. It looks like an owl. And as if you might have seen this on the agendas, but there's a meeting link, and that'll be there for every meeting, so that individuals that are not able to attend in person, especially people that might be disabled or have difficulty traveling, would be able to participate in public comment with us through this method. And I just want to thank Jason, because he and I have been working, and I say he and I have been working on it, which is like, I'm like, Jason, can you figure out how to do this? And then Jason just did all the work, but I'm taking partial credit for it as well. So there's got to be one person who asks, right? The person who does something. But I just want to thank Jason for all the work that he did to put this together today, and all the work he does for the school and for the school committee throughout the whole year as well, because he is one heck of a chap, so I just want to thank him for that.
Thank you.
With that, we are going to be entering into 2 executive sessions. We will not be returning after, only to adjourn. So the first executive session is to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and I do declare, for Unit B and Unit C. And the second one is to comply with or act under the authority of any general or specific law or federal grant and aid requirements, and that is to approve executive session meeting minutes for February 4th, March 11th, and March 25th. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. It's going to be a roll call vote. Mr. Boyce?
Yes.
Ms. Niffen?
Yes.
Mr. DeGravio?
Yes.
Mr. Ralphie?
Yes.
Mr. Trussell, yes. Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Ms. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. McCallum?
Yes.
And Ms. Blackman?
Yes.
Okay. All right, everybody, thank you very much for coming out, and we'll see you all. Our next meeting is the 29th, the Wednesday after vacation. We also have a budget subcommittee meeting that day as well. So hope to see you all there. Have a great vacation for those
Are we
that
staying here, or are
celebrate.
we going upstairs?
We're going to go
Celebrate
upstairs.
vacation?
What?
I have a